To everybody in the room. Welcome to this session on standards and certifications and more. I am Sambhavi Chandrasekhar. I'm the Global Accessibility Lead at an EdTech company called Desire to Learn, or D2L. I'm from Toronto, Canada. You have an international panel here. I'm so proud to be moderating this discussion. Just to give a little bit of background about me so you know my biases, I learned inclusive design for almost 7 years in Toronto from the best person I could, Dr. Yuta Trabranas. I taught inclusive design in a master's program for the next 5 to 6 years. For the past 8 years, I'm practicing inclusive design in my company, and that means we involve people with disabilities right from the first step: research, design, engineering, testing, support, everywhere. So I come from a world where we believe that the human is the most important. I'm almost at the dangerous point of developing moral standards around that, which is very, very dangerous because the world is diverse. Everybody working in this area has the single goal that people with diverse abilities and diverse constraints must be able to live well, to learn well, to work well. We are all working for the same cause. I was amazed to find that different people are doing it differently. And I'm so honored to be able to expand my perspectives today with all of these amazing panelists. We have Masahita Kawamori from Japan. He's with the International Trade Union, and his job is to make sure that people with hearing constraints, I mean, that's not his job, it's one of the projects he's doing, people with hearing constraints can use telecommunication devices. We have my best friend, Werner Rosenberg from Austria, who is into making sure that companies know what the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines are and how the EN 301-509 goes beyond that to specify functional specifications. And he's into teaching companies and then assessing and possibly certifying them. We have from Norway, Sigbjørn Rosberg. If I'm not wrong, you're from the Norwegian government authorities, and you are into auditing to ensure compliance. But you do it like a universal design way. And last but not at all the least, we have Monica Duhem from Mexico. She's from the G3 ICT Global, the chair, what council? Accessibility Council?
Yes.
Okay, she's from there, and then Monica and I share the honor of belonging to the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. Without further ado, I'd like to invite each one of these people to put forth their work and their perspectives as to how they are doing the work. Following that, we'll have a very short discussion, and then we'll throw it open to all of you to ask your questions. Over to you, Masahito.
So, are we seeing the slides, or? Okay. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. My name is Masahito Kawamori. I'm a rapporteur at the International Telecommunication Union. It's the United Nations agency, part of the United Nations for ICT, Information Communication Technology. Now we'll be talking about conformance and certification at ITU. Okay. So let me introduce ITU, International Telecommunication Union. It's, as I said, it's the United Nations agency for specialized agency for information communication technology, including broadcasting and satellite communication and mobile phones and all of that kinds. And it was founded in 1865. It's the oldest international organization that ever existed, so it predates the United Nations or the League of Nations. And from the very beginning, standardization is one of the ITU's primary activities, concerns. Currently, we have 148 member states, just like the United Nations. But the unique point about ITU is that we have over 800 private companies, private sector entities, as well as academia and nonprofit organizations and so on. So this is the only United Nations agency that allows membership to private sector. And we're headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and some of the standards that you're usually using almost every day is international telephone code, country code. Like number 1 is the United States. I don't know which. Canada is also 1. Japan is 81. France is what? 46 or something like that. Okay. So that's ITU standard, as well as JPEG, which is very common on the web, as well as H.264 video codec, which I think this video is actually using. So these are some of the standards that we standardized. And what I'm doing at ITU, I'm the rapporteur of digital health, including e-health, and a co-chair of media accessibility. I work with WHO World Health Organization on standardizing safe listening, safe viewing, sensory prevention of disease. And these standards have been implemented in smartphones, earpods, and headsets. And also, we have standardized what we call accessibility to telehealth with WHO. And we've been working on conformance testing, test lab recognition, as well as certification process. That's what I'll be talking about today. And also, I'm working with BBC, European Broadcasting Union, others, on media accessibility, including both broadcasting and telecommunication. Okay, so I'd like to just talk a little bit about what we do in testing lab recognition procedure in ITU. So we call for test labs based on the recommendation, which is the standard that we define in ITU. And we do certification, and also we also create database for certified test labs. And this process is actually done with what we call IAAP. This is the organization that certifies certifying organizations. And so we keep the database in here, in the middle, and we do the repository, make the repository of all the standards and testing specifications from ITU. Okay, and for conformance, we do pretty much the same thing. We provide the database, and then we also provide testing specifications so that test labs can use and download those specifications and standards to certify. And actually, we're calling for test labs with WHO on the products that I just mentioned, safe listening devices and systems. So some of the companies that, many of the companies that you may know already have products produced according to these standards, and we're hoping that more organizations will produce those products or services or systems based on our standards with WHO. So if you have any questions, you can come to me and we can talk about conformance and standardization. And I hope we can all work together on this panel, because this is more on the device side, but Werner and other people will be talking more on the website. And I think for telecommunication, both aspects are very important for conformance and interoperability, especially for accessibility. Thank you.
That was perfect timing.
Yeah, I was watching.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Werner Rosenberger, and I'm, yes, sorry. Yes, okay. Yes, my name is Werner Rosenberger, and I'm a project manager of a certification in Austria. It calls Web Accessibility Certificate. WCAG is the first quality seal in Austria to make web accessibility visible to the outside world according to the WCAG criteria. This official certificate is intended for websites, apps and software solutions in German and English languages for whole Europe. And it is based on the European standard EN 301549. The certificate recognizes web accessibility efforts and guarantees compliance with the legal requirements. Yes, and persons with disabilities are among those groups who can benefit most from the ICT, from the information and communication technology revolution. We started our project in 2018, and at that time there was no quality seal in Austria and in many countries in Europe to indicate accessibility according to the WCAG on websites. And also public awareness of web accessibility was also very low. So what was the problem? Why is accessibility not in the mainstream and usually implemented? I have these three aspects. What is more, maybe was the problem and what is now the problem? The first one is that accessibility is difficult to identify. About 75% of the WCAG criteria are technical based, you can see it. The second one is that the compliance with the WCAG criteria is rarely achievable when you go of 100%, especially with complex websites and web solutions. And I think the most important point is that IT professionals use a very technical language, and marketing managers have another language. They want to have that website look nice, look beautiful, and maybe a lot of time they have little understanding of technology. And so the problem is that to match these two languages, and so I think the best way is to make accessibility visible to the outside world. And accessibility is a business case, a very big, a huge business case. I have two current studies here from Kantar. Kantar is a leader, global leader in marketing data and analytics. And the study says that 75% of consumers worldwide say that inclusion and diversity influence their purchasing decisions. So I think also important for web shops and web shops on websites. The second one, I think it's also very current, is the Global Economics of Disability Report. In about 1 million people in the world have a disability, and the global disability market is about $18 trillion. When you not look only for people with disability, when you look also for their friends, for their families. So it is a very huge business case when you want to sell products to people with disabilities. And yes, web shops is also a very great thing to do that. Yes, and I think I have another current aspect. Just the internet is ongoing now in a fundamental transformation. I have two questions to you. The first is, are you still using Google or other platform, or are you already asking AI? And the second question is, have you recently monitored your website's click-through rate? A lot of people don't go now to websites, they have the AI and look for the information there. And now we know from our our consultants with big companies that AI search is increasing, but the click-through rates of websites are declining, and also requires AI also requires a certain level of accessibility so that your information on websites are summarized well and correctly. So I think it's a great question to look also for AI and Google that your information is accessible and they will be found there. Yes, some words to WCAG. WCAG is is started with 10 organizations in Austria with different core competences. Access Austria was the initiator and processing body. TÜV Austria is a leading expert for information security as well as testing and certification services for many years, and it's our certification body. It's very public in Austria and Germany. And TÜV is also an international player and member of many standardization committees in Europe. Through the WCAG certification, just only a few words of the WCAG certification. Just I said first, we certificate two languages now, and Spanish is coming soon. And we certify strictly the WCAG criteria 2.2, and also based on the new standards, the European standard, we make manual tests and automatic tests with a team of very specialized and professional auditors. The auditors also have sometimes disabilities, and they are working 20 years in this area. Also we do, I think it's a great important thing, through the WCAG certification we want to sensitize companies and public institutions as well as the stakeholders to the topic of web accessibility, so that the topic reaches the management level. I think this is a very great huge thing to do to implement web accessibility in companies. Yes, only a few words, just what is a certificate? Our certificate ensures digital and ICT accessibility and further raise awareness to the accessibility importance, and on the EU law, just the Web Accessibility Directive and the European Accessibility Act. And a certificate make a product out of the concept of accessibility, which is often difficult to grasp and convey. And just you can create the possibility of generating demands of accessibility and the corresponding development of skills. I think now the time is out. You only see here the label. We can talk then a little bit later what the certification is. We can do here some examples of big companies in Austria. Also, we certified international companies, banks and insurance companies, about 150 websites in Austria. Yes, and that's the way to Europe now, and I want to give the words to Mr. Rosberg. Thank you.
Thank you, Werner. You're correct. Our marketing department is already aware that. Yeah. I said you're correct. Our marketing department is already aware. People don't go to our website to know about our LMS. But Sigbjørn.
Yeah, thank you. I will give a short introduction to the legal framework of universal design of ICT in Norway. And here's also my presentation. Universal design of ICT started off as soft law recommendations in 2002. And it was made into legal requirements in 2009. And this entered into force for new ICT solutions in 2011. And back then, universal design was equal to useful for as many as possible. But when in 2013 we came to the conclusion that this requirement was a bit too generic. So we needed some more technological specific requirements suitable for enforcement. So therefore we came to the conclusion that we would move forward with WCAG 2.0 or equal. And in 2022, WCAG 2.1 and the EN 301549 was introduced after the Web Accessibility Directive for. Yeah, thank you for telling. I will. I'm too tall for the microphone. So we introduced WCAG 2.1 for public entities in 2022. Well, 2013 was also the year when the Authority for Universal Design of ICT was established, and that's where I work. It was established to enforce these requirements. And we have the authority to issue legal orders as well as fines. And this has been crucial to establish the importance of compliance and also to raise awareness. And it works. It has become a talking point, and it has also generated a lot of media interest. Last but not least, and probably the most important, is that it has led to increased knowledge and awareness. And although there is still a way to go, and probably always will be, I want to draw up some factors for success. Standards, they make universal design go from being best practice and inclusion to hardcore ICT through international recognized technology neutral requirements that are ready for emerging technologies. And it also makes universal design become legal tech, equal to data privacy and information security. Moreover, guidance is very important. Standards, and especially ICT standards perhaps, are hard to read and hard to understand. This makes it essential to break down the requirements, come up with examples, show solutions, and also to show the relevance why this is important. And also it's important to give guidance on the fact that compliance today does not necessarily mean compliance tomorrow. The solutions and the content change from day to day, and it's therefore an eternal work. It's not like, well, we are compliant now, we can stop doing this. We are a data-driven organization, like everybody else. Also, our resources are limited. So we use different data sources in order to prioritize in our risk-based analysis approach. It's also very important to show the relevance that this is universal design of ICT is relevant for more than just people with disabilities. As Werner mentioned, the search engine optimization and AI goes hand in hand with the universal design, and this is also extremely relevant for a lot of people with temporarily or situational impairments. And the last thing I want to show you is this map of Norway. Not because it's a map of Norway, but because it's displaying public sector bodies' compliance to WCAG 2.1 requirements per municipality. And the map is almost fully green, which means 75 to 100% compliance. Only a few red spots, which means 0 to 25% compliance. They have still a way to go, but now they are aware at least, and also the rest of the world. This is based on information from the Web Accessibility Statement and is part of the data sources we use in our analysis. And for those of you who are very interested in such data, the data was made publicly available with a JSON file last week. So for those of you out there, you know who you are, then you know where to look. So thank you.
Thank you, Sigurd. Monica.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Monica, and as Dr. Sambawi said, I'm from G3 ICT, the Global Initiative for Inclusive Technology. So I'm waiting for the presentation, but a little bit on the background of the organization. We were created in 2006 with the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disability, and the main objective of the organization was advocacy, explaining to countries what inclusion meant in the digital environment, which is still not very straightforward. So most of the work was around advocacy. Then after you advocate, and most of the countries has ratified the convention, has some sort of even standards or local and regional and national regulations, we start doing advisory, how to implement, implementation part of now you have these regulations and how to implement the regulations. So advice on how to embed in the processes inclusion and accessibility, how to understand the standards and how to embed them in your processes, both at the national level, like Sigmund is just describing, and also at the company level. Now, here in Europe with the European Accessibility Act, it's also an obligation for the companies to be accessible and compliant. And 10 years ago, we partnered with the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. So what they are doing is certifying the skills of the professionals so that you know, as a government, as a company, that those professionals that you are hiring to develop accessible websites knows their standards and know how to implement the standards. So the International Association was created exactly for that purpose, to certify the skills of the professionals in the digital arena, so they know that and they can prove that they know what they're doing. And finally, events, networking, so everybody can work together and share their experience. We have 3 certifications. The CPAC certification is core accessibility, so you know your accessibility in general. I'm not a developer, I'm a CPAC certified. So what I know is I know the convention, I know what are the standards, the more popular standards that are used in both built environment, digital environment, universal design. Again, not a practitioner, but I understand what the standards are, and I know how, in general, how to manage a project of accessibility. So in those organizations, we're going to have those profiles of who are managing accessibility and inclusion. If they are CPAC certified, they will know what are the skills that they need, what are the profile that they need to include in their teams, so they're successful in implementing accessibility and inclusion in an organization. Then we have the more technical standards. We have the WAS, which is Web Accessibility Specialist. So for that, to being able to have that certification, you need, in order to apply, to have 3 to 5 years of experience embedded in accessibility. So I'm remediating, I'm testing, and I'm developing accessible websites. And if I have both, if I have CPAC and WAS, I can have the CPWA certification. And there's another one that I forgot to mention, which is the Document Accessibility Specialist, because it's so important when we're creating a website. It's just, as I said, a vehicle for information. So all those people that are creating content and sometimes uploading content in accessible websites, they upload non-tagged pictures and infographics and documents that are not accessible. So the document certification certified that those professionals, those content creators, copywriters, knows how to create content that is accessible and then that you can upload in social media, in your websites, etc. So those are our professional certifications, and really certify that the holder of those knows their standards. So then what happened, and well, 10,000 people, and it is growing, and I'm happy it's growing. I think it's a very useful tool for, again, companies and national services that need to develop accessible websites. They know that the people they are hiring are accessible and know about accessibility. And what we developed last year, because being Mexican, we do not have as mature market as they can have in Europe, because we do not have those compliance. So we started one step back and said, we do not have those professionals that have the profile to be certified. They're starting their journey, they're starting their learning path on accessibility. So we created what we're saying the digital knowledge badge. So I do not need to show that I have years of experience on accessibility, but I'm encouraging those professionals to have a badge and said, I have the knowledge, I studied my standards. So what we're doing with this professional badging, which is knowledge-based, is we're doing role-based, because again, also we realize that not everyone is interested in knowing everything about accessibility. So let's work on role-based. So the marketing, not specialists, but the marketing, the people in copywriting, the developers, the testers. We included one in built environment. We're developing one in mobile accessibility. So those professionals that are starting their journey, that are starting their learning path, how to recognize the knowledge in a specific area of the supply development chain. No? So I know about marketing, I know. So what we're working is on developing those role-based trainings to invite people to start their journey on accessibility and hopefully to be interested in continue to learn more and practice their accessibility and get the certification. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. Thank you very much for the invitation.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you in the panel. One point that I just want to make here is Monica was talking all about enabling accessibility professionals. And then on the other side, we have all these standards. How do you tie these together, and how do you make sure that these standards reach where they should? It is good to have these checks, audits, remediation, but that's a hamster wheel. If an organization gets on that hamster wheel forever, they're spending their money on audit and remediation. On the other hand, if leaders take on governance into their hands, and if they set up processes within the organization, whether it's a website development or it's a product development, right from the step 1 to step N, if they involve people with disabilities and involve accessibility professionals, they could be the same. People with disabilities can be accessibility professionals, and they are certified and they are enabled and they are aware of all the standards. Then the first step they will do is to create a standards compliant product, which would be the floor, over and above which they can have people with disabilities test for usability. So by the time it comes out, whether it's a website or a product, it's going to be almost accessible, which is a good way of deploying resources. But I don't want to go on and on. I just wanted to connect the two and say every bit of whatever everybody was saying is very important. And I just want to have a quick round of questions to the panelists, and then I'll throw it open to the audience. So to Masahito, you represent the United Nations agency. How do you think the UN can support standardization, and especially interoperability of those standards so that multiple systems can connect and work?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. So as a global United Nations agency, such as ITU as well as WHO, I think we can provide a very good platform for those different certification systems as well as testing labs from regional, from national level, and we can include them all on our platform so that we can discuss with each other And we can also influence the member states, which is, part of the United Nations, so that they can adopt the policy of certified accessibility products, systems, and devices, as well as the policy to require service providers to provide that kind of accessibility. And also not just, just self-claimed certified products. We can actually assure a certain interoperability between those devices and systems. That's, I think, what we can provide as United Nations agencies.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Because
Interoperability,
harmonization across standards and
yes.
interoperability across
Yes.
systems, both are very important. Werner, you were mentioning that it's very important for companies to understand what the standards are, the WCAG standards, and how EN 301 adds additional functional constraints on it. How do you make companies aware of all this?
Yes, I think you have to go out of the bubble and go to, I think, visit international and national business events, business convents, to show stakeholders, show CEOs, show marketing leaders, and say accessibility is a must to have. You have to do it, yeah. And this is our way to come to the companies. They say, okay, this is a business case, and when they say this is a business case, okay, they do something. Yeah. So business is, I think it's very it's sometimes very hard, yeah. Also with accessibility and people with disabilities, but when you go with companies with a way, on the same way, show them, help them what is accessibility and how you can get it better, and it's a financial thing. Then I think you come to companies and I think we see it at our audits. All websites, they are certified. They're growing better. They work better. They're more accessible now, and I think it's a good way there. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Thank you.
Both the points you made are amazing. One of them being like business people, you have to talk to them in the business language, right? Only then they'll understand, and which is why accessibility and inclusive design are thriving in D2L, because they know that because of that they're able to sell better, because the quality is better. And this other very interesting point about getting out of your bubble. We always go to accessibility conferences and keep preaching to the choir. How many of us want to go to a very different conference, say a tech conference, and talk about accessibility? I've challenged myself to do that, but I haven't gone even to a single conference so far. Anyway, sorry. Sigfjon, how many years have you been doing this audit work? Maybe a decade or?
Yeah, like 12 years. 12
okay,
years, yeah.
12 years. You've audited public and private sector companies?
Yeah, both.
Are there any differences in how they struggle to become accessible?
Well, no, not really. It's they they tend to meet the same struggles and have the same breaches, and you would probably think that it would be like the really hardcore technical questions that they have struggles with, but the most breaches, they are related to lack of contrast. The content is not coded as what it looks like, and missing captions, and such. So it's the kind of the easiest. It's not. I'm not saying that it's easy necessarily, but it's not those requirements that you might think there are breaches. They breach.
That's interesting. I would also challenge you to say, because those very first steps are not accessible, people are not able to go beyond that, probably to check the more important things.
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah.
It's a of course it's very common that you end up taking a look at, well, what do I have to do, and then that's what I need to do. And some solutions and some owners of solutions, they want to go further on, but it's still it's a little bit difficult when we say that these are the requirements, and then it's then also easy for the companies to think, well, that's what I need to be compliant with, and that's it. But more and more companies see that, well, this is actually useful. I'm not doing this only for the requirements, but I'm doing it to reach out to my customers or to the citizens.
So, Monica, you are in the business of enabling accessibility professionals to reach those standards to where they need to reach. So how does the IAAP help with that? The International Association for Accessibility Professionals, which is a part of G3ICT.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were talking about businesses. So I want to start, or I will invite organizations to start thinking about accessibility as an investment and not as a cost. So if we do not develop the skills within our organizations, it will be difficultly not thought about a cost more than an investment. So a lot of companies invest in their human resources, in developing our soft skills, our communication skills. So please now develop our accessibility skills. So the more we embed in the different level of our companies and the process, if we embed accessibility as an added value of our employees, then accessibility and all the budget that we adjust to put in accessibility, it's more an investment than a cost. If we keep on remediating PDFs for life, it will always be a cost, and we'll never see the end of it. And we were talking about leadership. So that's why leaders think of accessibility as a cost, because we're always, us practitioners are asking for more budget, because it's very difficult to reach and we will never reach a final accessible result. So it's an ongoing workflow. So we need to develop the skills. So that's the IAAP's goal, to make sure and to really highlight the importance of the professional skills. Of course, the end result is important. The website has to be accessible, the content. But if we do not highlight the importance of developing those skills, it will be very difficult and very expensive to make accessibility sustainable in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree. And I also want to go one step forward and say that we should start at the educational institutions. I would say start at the kindergarten, but at least at the post-secondary, especially for design courses, for engineering programs. We have to start teaching accessibility, and if IAAP is able to offer some kind of support, some kind of certifications or badges, or make it easier for universities to get into this, then when they are coming out after studying, they would be almost ready to start off. So that will be like speeding up the whole process. Maybe organizations will also look for people with certifications and badges, because, yeah.
Ideally, you include that in your profile in HR when you're looking for employees. So once you know that the people that you are hiring know about their accessibility, no?
Yeah, definitely in the hiring process, it is a differentiator. Apologies for not giving you enough time, but anybody has any questions? Yes?
Wagner, Vienna. Before I pose a question to Mr. Rasberg, maybe Mrs. Duham can display the first page of the presentation, because in 2 seconds I could not read your affiliation and the email address. Now my question to Mr. Rasberg. You spoke about temporal and situational impairment. Could you please give some examples and explain me what are the legal consequences of that, and who testifies that I, for instance, encounter such an impairment? So when I bump with my car in another car and the police questions me, I'm now allowed to say, okay, sorry, I had a situational impairment, and there are no legal consequences out of that. So this is for me not clear from a legal point of view. Who testifies it, and what are the consequences?
Thank you for the question. What I meant about the situational and temporarily impairments is not necessarily if they are by law having a situational or temporarily impairment, but it's how universal design is useful for also people without permanent impairments. So that was my point. So, for example,
Sigbjorn, if you don't mind, I can give an example from education that's like just jumping out of my mouth. So we create captions for learners who have hearing difficulties. But if you had a ear surgery and for a month you're not able to hear, those captions help you. If you are a student sitting in a library and you forgot your earphones, captions help you. If your partner is sleeping and you're doing a media course, you want to learn those media, watch those videos, those captions help. And today, Gen Z will not watch a video without captions. So, I mean, that's probably what you meant.
Yeah, definitely. And for example, by sitting in a bus without headphones, then the captions will be useful. For, I guess many of you have had a great use of the captioning of me speaking as a non-native speaker. So it's useful for many more than just those who have permanent impairments.
There's also episodic. Like you have it sometimes, you don't have it. I have rheumatoid arthritis from yesterday. I didn't have it the day before when I came. So there are different ways of disabilities.
Thank you for your case, because I'm exactly the example. I have 50% reduced hearing loss for 30 years, but I not get any entitlement or any passport that I'm allowed on an exam or at a presentation like that, sitting next to the loudspeaker or get an additional headset, okay? I'm fighting for that. I don't want to become an official disabled person. I just want to get this minimum right and maybe a passport for that, that I can sit in a specific place. So I fully understand these examples now, but I'm not entitled. I don't have any right for that.
So we have to advocate for changing those laws by enabling those policymakers to understand what is accessibility.
And that's universal design. Then it's made for everyone. So it's not like you need this. Or of course there will be someone who will have the need for something that is more specialized, but to reach out to as many as possible without any like special aids.
Yeah, if I may, that's exactly what we're working with WHO to provide safe listening situation, environments for people like you who want to be safer. And especially like children, they're also prone to losing hearing when they are exposed to excessive amount of noise or sounds or music. And so WHO and ITU have been working together to promote this safe listening standards to countries. So for example, in Switzerland, they have, I think they created a law against, loud music in restaurants and concert halls and things like that. So maybe you can advocate that as well. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes? Oh, there are two people. So you can go first.
Hello, my name is Mitchell from CCI Europe, based in Brussels. We work with a range of ICT companies working on accessibility. My question is to the colleague from Norway. I'm curious from your work with the public sector implementing both standards, what were the first hurdles that you experienced with them in implementing these standards, and how did you overcome those hurdles?
Thank you for the question. In the first years, we met companies and also public entities saying, well, this is not relevant to us. It was one example of a municipality saying, well, we have no blind citizens, which is an interesting thing to say, because I don't think that's true. But I think it's about awareness, and awareness about the need, and also awareness about how this can be useful for more people than just people with disabilities. So to make the group as big as possible. So I think I would say awareness was the biggest, or first and biggest challenge.
I would say, if you ask me how many people benefit by accessibility first design, it's 100%.
Yeah, we used to say it's necessary for some and useful for all. So that's a good slogan.
Yourself? Yeah.
Hi, thank you. Kevin White from the W3C.
Oh.
I'm interested in the intersectionality of standards. So we talk about harmonization of accessibility standards, but we know that there are aspects within security, data protection, online safety, all of those things, which are not necessarily covered in accessibility standards, but we know potentially present a disproportionate burden for people with disabilities. I'm interested in your thoughts on how, within a kind of expanding digital context with more risks, how we kind of look at the broader range of standards and where they might fit together. Thank you.
Are you specifically addressing this to anyone?
Yeah.
Or everyone? You have anything to say about? So I would ask you back, do you have any way of including any of that in WCAG 3.0? But I don't want to be mean.
Yes, it's certainly one of the things we're thinking about. So for example, the concept of harm is something that comes up quite a lot, and how we create a standard for that. Data protection is an interesting one. There have been some thoughts on introducing some aspects of data protection within WCAG 3. My view is there's actual legislation and protections that are covered by other legislation, other standards. So that's probably not something we should include in there, because it creates problems for regulators if you've got overlapping requirements from a standard. So it's an open question, certainly, which is pretty much why I asked for your thoughts.
We can, I mean, I was dying to meet you.
Okay.
I had emailed you.
Here.
So yeah, so we will meet and definitely discuss this, because we're almost on time. But I will definitely say between WCAG 1 and 2, it took 8 years, because we included cognitive disabilities, and that hazed up the whole situation. Between 2 and 3, you know how many years it has taken, because we're introducing more and more uncertainties and real human constraints. That is the right path to go. The question to ask us is, what are standards? How do we define them? Where do we limit them? Beyond that, what happens? How do we include people with diverse abilities and constraints? How do we certify? Do we need to certify, or does the community have to endorse? So these are all very philosophical questions. So I think we'll spare the audience all that pain, and we must sit down during lunch, definitely.
And if I may, just also to remind ourselves that it's a right. So standards are a guideline that we need, but at the end, our aim is for everyone to be able to use our spaces, both digital and built environment. So if we work with the end user and we provide flexibility and different ways and means, now understanding some of the barriers, I think that while standard people solve those problems that are complex, at the end we need to think about accessibility is a right for a service and for a product. So how can we make sure and be creative to ensure that people are access to those products and services in an equal manner, while we solve more technical that we need for guidance and for sustainability in the long run, no? But since we can ensure the right to access, I think we're starting on a good place.
So with due respect to the time, Masahito, your last point.
Okay, so I'm representing ITU right now, but I'm also working with ISO as well as IEC. And as you know, W3C has a good relationship with ISO. So especially in the area of accessibility as well as AI nowadays, we're working toward kind of, harmonization among those, what we call de jure standardization bodies. And I think it would be a great idea if W3C also join us in our discussion. I used to belong to the team. Actually, I was one of the W3C member teams. So yeah, why don't we discuss over lunch? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for this interested. Oh, can we talk separately? Because the time is up.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know that.